Hey guys, and welcome to this Yitivity channel. My name is Jitse, and in this video series we will take a look at mobile application development. This first video is mainly about what is mobile application development, but also what is this video series. So this video series consists of two types of videos. First of all, we have theory videos like this one, in which we'll discuss some Android theory to help us understand how to make our applications. The second type of video is practical videos. In these videos, I'll help you run through some code that might help you to create cool applications or some cool components. So let's get started with this first video in the video series. So the first question you might have is, why would I want to develop in Android? Well, take a look at this. Here on the right we see a graph that displays the division of the multiple platforms in mobile application development. And as you can see here with the blue line, Android is very popular. It's more than 80% of the mobile devices actually. So when you develop Android, you'll be developing for a lot of users, and thus a lot of devices also. And those different devices together we can call the Internet of Things. And here you don't even only have to think about mobile phones. You can develop or you can communicate with cars, with houses, with certain smartwatches. Also within the Android system itself, there's multiple components that work together. Whereas if you develop a website, it's often a one thing, one project. However, in mobile application development, certain components can work together. So your application might use something from another application. Take a look at this example on the right. Normally people see this as, okay, I click the plus button of Instagram and the camera opens, or I can choose some photos. However, in the background, it is a bit more complicated. So when we click that plus button, it actually uses our camera application and our files application to get those two types of data. And at the same time, the flow might be interrupted by a call that you get, and it will still not crash your phone, because you can just hop back into the component after, when you're done with the call. And this is because of the different components that we use. And last but not least, when we're developing for mobile phones, we have limited resources. Things like storage and things like battery are some things that you don't really want to waste a lot of. And thus you want to make your app as efficient with the resources as possible. So we already talked a little bit about the multiple components in Android. But what are those components? Well, the first component is activities. And activities is basically the user interface. So what the user sees and what the user can control. The second type of component is services. And services run in the background. For example, grabbing your photos from the Instagram server and providing them to your activity. The third component is a broadcast receiver. And a broadcast receiver listens to system-wide notifications. For example, that your battery is running low. The fourth component is the content provider. In Android, each application uses their own memory and their own storage. So in Android, when you want to share files with another application, you will have to do this via the file manager. And this is both for receiving files as well as for sending files. So those are the four components in Android. Of course, this is a very brief introduction to the Android system, and it will probably not help you much to create your own applications. However, before we dive into that, I first want to show you the tools that might help you further along this journey. The first tool being Android Studio. Android Studio is the main program where we can edit our Android code, build our Android applications, and much more. The next video will be an introduction on how to use Android Studio, so be sure to watch that one. The second resource is Android Developers. On this website, you'll be able to find all documentation that you need. Every API, every function is explained on Android Developer. So if you're ever stuck in some code, be sure to take a look on this website. Thirdly, there's something called Google Developer Code Labs. If you want to practice a bit more next to this video series, Google Developer Code Labs has a lot of tutorial series where you can read through the instructions and create your own basic applications. It's really nice to help you get started. Fourthly, there is my GitHub channel. Every resource and every PowerPoint presentation that I will use on this video series will be uploaded on my GitHub. So if you ever watch a video and want to know what I used, go take a look there. And last but not least, there's of course Stack Overflow. And here I want to add a little side note, because the Android code is constantly developing. And it happens a lot that a function that worked a year ago is deprecated today. So when you use resources like Stack Overflow, be sure to check how recent the answer is, because the method they use might actually already be deprecated. And the same actually also holds for Android developers. Often their own documentation lags a little bit behind of what they do to the code themselves. Now that we know the tools that we can use and we know a little bit about the Android system, it's time to start actually making our first applications. In the next video, we will do a quick introduction to Android Studio and create our first Hello World application. If you already know that you have certain topics that you want to have discussed in this video series, leave a comment below and maybe we'll get to it. In any other case, let's hop to the next video and get to work.